Well, hello, Get Rich Education Nation. We're doing something a bit different here. Oftentimes, when I have a guest here on the channel, I'm the one asking the questions. Today, we've got our operations lead here at Get Rich Education, Aundrea Newbern, MBA, to ask me a few questions about real estate investing and personal stuff and whatever else. Welcome in, Aundrea.
Thank you so much for having me, Keith. What got you to start talking about real estate investing in the first place?
Practice from talking to coworkers back when I used to have a day job at the Department of Transportation. I would talk to DOT coworkers, and really, Aundrea, the thing that made this whole subject of passive income from real estate come up with my coworkers is that they heard that I was going to go on a Hawaiian vacation again, and a lot of them just weren't living a lifestyle like this. So it was really the lifestyle disparity that my coworkers could see that I was living, and this would be unusual to them because, we all made about the same amount of income there. So how was I living this lifestyle that they weren't? And by the way, the most money that I ever made from that job was $108K in a year. That was probably 6 or 7 years ago. So in inflation adjusted terms, maybe it's 130 some K today, but I needed to work overtime in order to get an income like that. And the answer I gave to my coworkers when they asked how I'm doing this again is passive income from real estate. I have some rental properties, and the rent income minus all the monthly expenses gives me this passive income. And when you talk to an everyday W-2 job worker about passive income, oftentimes they kind of tilt your head and their head rather, and they're like, what do you mean? Kind of like a dog would, like passive income, like income actually shows up that you don't need to work for. And that was really what got me started talking about it. So I never knew it would turn into this, but I'm in my 8-foot by 10-foot cubicle at the DOT. It was just typically one person at a time I was talking to, but this actually gave me practice to describe things like leverage and cash flow and things like that. And I didn't realize that that's what it was setting me up for. So as time went on, Aundrea, and I was a DOT worker and I'm getting more income from my portfolio as I'm growing it, pretty soon I'm not going into work on Saturdays to work that optional overtime where you're getting paid time and a half. And Aundrea, there was one particular day when I was driving out on the highway, because I worked in the highway construction inspection section of the DOT, when I was actually stopped on the highway for road construction, and I saw one of my coworkers over there, and he saw me sitting in my vehicle. I was out on a day off on a Saturday, driving to go climb a mountain, doing what I love to do. And that DOT coworker, when he looked at me, I know what he was thinking, because he thought the same way that I used to think, and he thought, hey, here I am making time and a half on a Saturday while Keith's just off playing around. And in a sense, I know what he means, but you know what? To him, he's thinking, I'm making dollars, I'm getting ahead. And me, with what I'm thinking now with passive income, is it's not about making more money. It's about living your days as you wish. And that's what I was starting to do already. So, as you know, we are in real estate for the income, yes, but ultimately, we're in real estate for the outcome that it provides.
Did you convert any of your coworkers to real estate investing?
Actually, my conversion rate was probably pretty low. Maybe I was batting 250 or 300 or something like that. I'd say, fewer than a third, maybe only a quarter of people actually took action and got to looking at rental property locally and getting started that way. Yeah, most people just wanted to continue to stay as they are and stay small and stay safe. And, they would listen to me and just think, oh, well, that was interesting. I've got my answer now, and now I can go back to, working on this spreadsheet for the DOT or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that, but there can be more to life than that. But yeah, my conversion percentage with those coworkers actually was not very high, I got to admit.
Something tells me it's grown a little bit since then, though, Keith. How did you take a 3.5% down payment in one fourplex and be able to grow that internationally?
I started out by using an FHA loan, which is still available today, a 3.5% down payment and putting that into a fourplex building. And you can use that loan program with a single family home, a duplex, a triplex, or a fourplex. The last time I checked, Aundrea, a person only needs to have a minimum credit score of 580 in order to qualify for that loan program. So I bought a fourplex, lived in one unit, and rented out the other three. You need to live there for at least a year. And after 3 years and 4 months, like 3 1/3 years, the building had appreciated from $295,000 in value, which is the price I bought it for. I didn't really get a deal on it, and I just paid the market value for it. It appreciated up to $425 in that period of time, $295 to $425. And now that might sound like a really high-flying return, but it's only about 13% per year. So what I did with a chunk of that equity, that's $130K in equity now, plus whatever I had paid the loan down by, is I took a portion of that equity and used it to buy a second fourplex building while still holding on to the first one. So now I've got 2 fourplex buildings. And that would give a lot of people pause, Aundrea, because a lot of people were like, well, wait, is that a good move? Because you're actually taking on more debt now. You're getting further away from paying off the first fourplex because you're actually putting a little more debt on it. And now you've got debt on a second fourplex building. When I had grown from 4 units to 8 units, my mindset is I'm growing my portfolio. I have more cash flow. I actually have more ballast because if I had one vacancy, I'm only 1/8 vacant rather than 1/4 vacant. And I'm using more of the bank's money to generate a return. That's the mindset of someone that really gets big and grows their portfolio. And I think the opposite mindset, Aundrea, is some people would think, yeah, I don't want to take on all that debt. And I would say that the debt is reliably outsourced to tenants as long as the property provides cash flow. So really, I think the question that one needs to ask themselves is, how big could I ever get if I only use my own money and try to get every property paid off before I go get another one? That's the debt-free mindset, but the financially free mindset is just the opposite. It's converting equity and using it to create cash flow, which is exactly what I did when I expanded from 4 units to 8 units. And when I do that, no equity is lost. Equity is merely transferred into an additional property. And then with those 2 fourplexes, I traded one fourplex up for an 8plex the same way, and the other fourplex up for an 11plex. So I grew to different states and different nations through using cash out refinances and 1031 exchanges. It's really a way to accelerate getting closer to financial freedom. And this is without me adding too much of my own money after that original 3.5% and not too much of my sweat equity, because I'm really not a handy person. I just understand concepts like leverage and arbitrage and actually use them. So that's kind of the mechanics and the mindset too of how I did it, Aundrea.
Cash out refis and 1031s are so incredibly powerful. So love that story. I do suspect though, Keith, that you had a higher credit score than 580 when you did this,
right.
But it's good to know that 580 is the minimum for people out there who may not have that great credit score and want to get started.
Yeah, that's a good point. And if you have a credit score of higher than 580, you will get a lower interest rate. I think my credit score then was in the mid to high 700s, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a great rate then. All of us that follow you on social media and know you and see what you do, you're always on a mountain, you're always out hiking or trekking, you're doing something physical constantly. So why all the exercise?
It is related to investing, because if you invest well, you're going to want to live a long time. Yeah, I really enjoy a variety of exercise. If you, the viewer, want to learn more about that, we'll try to put a video for you up here. It's called Fitness and Financial Freedom. I did a video dedicated to this topic not that long ago where I talk about my age and my sleep and my workout routine and things like that. So we'll try to put that up here for you.
So related to exercise and real estate and all the things that would, help you invest and help you have a better mindset and have a more physical shape. Motivation. You got to have motivation to do all of this. So what motivates you to produce quality content here at GRE?
Yeah, I mean, producing a podcast every week like I have since 2014 on the Get Rich Education audio podcast, I mean, there is some work and some commitment that goes behind that, and making sure I produce the best show that anyone has heard all week, each show that I do, and here on the YouTube channel more now, and through our Don't Quit Your Daydream letter, which is our newsletter. I think the thing that motivates me, is going to surprise you. It's actually fear. I think it's a fear of insignificance that makes me want to keep turning these things out and sharing my experience and wisdom and thoughts and mindset in this education with other people. I don't want to be an insignificant person. This gets sort of personal, but I don't have any children. So I don't have anyone to pass, my kind of wisdom or experience or values or ethics onto. And, so really for my audience, I think what drives me is a fear of insignificance. I want to matter in people's lives. And, some fears serve people. I think this fear actually serves me. A lot of fears don't serve people, like someone that's listened to the Get Rich Education podcast for a year or two and like they still haven't bought their first property and they have a fear of starting with real estate. Or a big fear that I had growing up is, I always had the fear of like asking the really attractive girl out on a date. So, there's some fears that don't serve people, but I think this fear of insignificance is actually what serves me. It's really important that I matter in people's lives.
Keith, I think with the impact that you've made on the podcast, hopefully that fear is no longer a fear of yours at this point.
Well, Aundrea, hopefully I'm off the hot seat. Is that all you have for now, or?
That's all I had. I'm glad the conversation went with the F word of fear and not somewhere else. And really appreciate you sharing all your insight with me, Keith.